Hi, everyone. I'm in beautiful Beaujolais right now, and I thought this would be the perfect place, you can hear the rooster, to do a short class on Beaujolais. Um, I'm going to do a little screen sharing with some maps and things so you know where we're located, and I'll try to keep this brief for everyone. And hopefully Mr. Rooster stops soon. Okay, so the first map I'm going to share is the general map of France. And what we can see here is over where it says Burgundy, just below that, you're going to see Beaujolais. It's the small pink area. And Beaujolais is technically part of Burgundy, but it is its own region with its own cru and its own appellation systems. So it's that small pink area to the right of your screen. And the grape there, as it says, is Gamay. Okay, great. It's a different animal altogether from Burgundy. So there are 10 cru in Beaujolais, that's CRU, and those are names given to specific appellations within Beaujolais. Now, there are no Grand Cru and there are no Premier Cru, so they're only cru appellation designations, and they're designations of quality and distinction. So if a winemaker is using one of those cru names on their label, it has to be Gamay from that area, and it's going to be indicative of a certain style of wine that you can expect there. And those parcels are determined to produce superior wines of distinctive traits. I'm going to share my screen again with you so that you can see where Beaujolais is. Okay, so see Paris up here in the center, almost smack dab in the center. And then down to the southeast is where Beaujolais is, so you get a greater sense of where it's located in relative to the other cities in France. I'll give you a second there. And the next one I'm going to share with you is Beaujolais. Okay, great. So let me just pull that up for myself here. Wonderful. So we see this big orange area here. So that's the entirety of the Beaujolais region. So anything that's grown here that falls into the correct winemaking that they've deemed necessary for here is going to be Beaujolais. Now you can see these different colored parcels here, and you see more specific names. These are the ones you're probably going to be familiar with from our wine list. More specifically, you see Fleury towards the top. We see Morgon. That's a fairly common one. We see a lot of that in the United States. You'll also see down towards the bottom, it just says Beaujolais and Beaujolais Nouveau. These are, as you can see, they're not smaller distinctive parcels. It's just anything that falls in that area. And then we also see Beaujolais Village. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. I'm going to leave the map up for your reference for the moment. So at the top of the appellation system there, we have the cru. As I said, there's 10 of those. Those are those smaller colored parcels. And then we have Beaujolais Village, AOP or AOP. There are 38 different villages that can use the name of their village on the label. And they are also sort of letting you know that it comes from a smaller area that has wines of distinction. There's also Beaujolais AOP, and that's just the bigger area of Beaujolais. I was saying all that orange area. And then there's Beaujolais AOP Supérieur, and that is basically just an indication the wine has to be slightly higher alcohol and the color will be a little bit more intense. You don't see that super duper often. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing here. These wines have to be, for the red wines, they have to be 100% Gamay. Gamay is a very purplish colored grape with sort of thick skin. And I also would like, as a caveat, as I always do, that just because a wine just says Beaujolais, or you know it's from Beaujolais, but it's a Vin de France, that doesn't mean that it's a poor quality wine. It just means that, well, it could be a less quality wine, but it could also mean that the wine is has a different grape besides Gamay blended in. We've had some of those on our list at Siegfried where they have some Pinot Noir blended into them, or maybe the winemaker just feels that I don't need to be classified. My wines are speak for themselves, and I have a cult following. What I'd like to also talk about a bit is that a very common and unique way of winemaking is used here called carbonic maceration. Carbonic maceration is when you have your vat of your Gamay grapes or any grapes outside of Beaujolais, and the gravity, the pressure starts to explode some of the grapes at the bottom. And so their juice starts to get pressed out just naturally by gravity. Now, as that fermentation starts, it produces CO2 or carbon dioxide. And by not, and often the winemakers will also cap this process. So there's just CO2 in the tank. And what's happening is you get a fermentation process. Fermentation usually uses oxygen. If you deprive it of oxygen and it's just CO2, what will happen is the grapes will start to ferment on the interior. So you have the little grapefruit and it starts to ferment in the interior and then they burst for that fermentation. And what's going to happen there is you end up with a lighter style of wine because you're not getting all of that extraction of soaking the skins in the juice. Some of that fermentation is already starting inside the grape. And as we know, the flesh of the grape doesn't have any color. So you're going to produce a lighter, softer, less tannic style. That also tends to give flavors of bubble gum, sometimes banana, and sort of fresh. A few other things to know about Beaujolais that are interesting. There's a lot of natural wine being made in Beaujolais. It's one of the regions, in addition to the Loire Valley, that was really a big proponent for making natural wine. So that's not a new thing there. There's been a lot of people interested in biodynamics for 2-3 generations now. The thing that's very in common in Beaujolais that sets it apart from Burgundy is that most of the soil is granitic. So it's granite soil. Some of it is very hard bedrock that needs to be drilled into in order to even plant the seedlings. Some of it can be schist, which is broken down granite. So you get, but it's all different types of granite, and that gives sort of a strength and a minerality, a backbone to the wines. I also want to touch on Beaujolais Nouveau very quickly. Beaujolais Nouveau means new Beaujolais, and basically it means that the grapes are harvested, the wine is immediately fermented, and then it's bottled, meaning just a few weeks of time, it's bottled, and then it's released. It's meant to be a celebratory wine. As you can imagine, it's usually cheap and cheerful. It's not a wine for aging. The vast majority of wines that are on the market from Beaujolais are going to be Beaujolais Village, Beaujolais, and Beaujolais Nouveau. So the Cru Beaujolais are much less common on the market, although certainly any good wine shop is going to have a few of them. Now, most importantly for you, we want to talk about what to expect from these bottles and how to sell it to our guests. So generally speaking, Beaujolais is going to be between 10 and 13% alcohol, so lighter bodied. It's going to have a bright purple color. They tend to be very fruity wines, a lot of raspberry, cranberry, that freshness. And as I said, they can, if there is carbonic maceration, they can have a bubble gum flavor, often have scents of violet flowers and a bit of forest floor. It can be a little mushroomy as well. Tend to be high in acid and medium tannin because we didn't extract all the tannins from those grape skins. They're wonderful as a chilled wine. It's very common to see them served in that way. And very specifically to us, now that we're concluding our little talk here, is the David Lage Beaujolais. It's an AOP Beaujolais, as I was saying. And it's the Kamehameha. If you haven't gotten that joke before, it has Gamay in it, but it's a play on words with Kamehameha, which is from Dragon Ball, an anime manga series. So the winemaker's definitely an anime and manga nerd. He does use carbonic maceration, so taste it and smell it and see if you can get any of those flavors that I was talking about, any of that banana or that fresh, lively bubblegum sense. And actually, just as a point of fact, sort of interesting, as I was looking up the winery, because it is just Beaujolais, I found out that it's approximately 15 to 20 minutes north of where I am right now. So you can bet I'll come and visit the next time. So give it a try, see what you think. You will be quizzed on this. And I think I'm going to put a little Easter egg in here to make sure you guys have seen it. It will be on the quiz. Don't cheat. Got a little cat friend over here, and his name is Justin. So that's how I'm going to know that you watched all of my video. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was informative. If I missed anything, please let me know. Ooh, real quick. You may know there is also white Beaujolais that's made with Chardonnay. You'll also see orange wines, sparkling made from Chardonnay, pet nats, rosé, but they are not going to fall into that cru classification system. So you don't have to worry too much about those. They're meant to be consumed easily and drank easily. That's all. Thanks for watching.